This is the All Rev'd Up podcast, and I'm Reverend Emmett Price.
And I'm Reverend Irene Monroe.
Irene, this is the finale of season 4. We did things a little different this time by going weekly and by staying nice and close to trending news and cultural current events. How do you think we did?
Well, I think we did pretty good, but it's been a wonderful journey. And what I like so much is that our listeners have stayed tuned and have stayed with us.
They absolutely have, for which we're so grateful. By the way, before we take a few weeks off to get a little rest, let us thank each and every one of our listeners and viewers. Thank you for listening to us on the various podcast apps and for watching the actual live recording of the podcast on our YouTube channel. We are so grateful for your support, your encouragement, your feedback, your reviews, and your comments. And by the way, thank you so much for sharing the podcast with others.
Oh, indeed. I can't thank you enough. So I'll just say this, a tsunami of thanks, hoping it will encapsulate all my thanks.
And we also want to extend that tsunami of thanks to our amazing producers, Kyla Wright and Cavante Smalls. Now, Irene, we're dressed down today on purpose. I'm representing my alma mater, the University of Pittsburgh, whose football team won for the first time the ACC title. Hail to Pitt. Irene, what you got on today?
Well, I got on my favorite pink sweatshirt and boating hat.
You go on with your bad self. All right, it's our season 4 finale. Let's do this.
This is Kalia.
What's up, Monroe?
What's up?
Kind of militant. Sure, Farrah Shaka Khan.
Come on, man. Give
Okay,
me up.
that's okay. Okay.
You don't know what
I said.
That's piss.
Recently, Black Twitter went wild with posts highlighting the African American urge, paying homage to the many sayings, wives' tales, metaphors, and just simply put, talking about the things that we do. Stuff like calling a child who channels the wisdom of an elder an old soul. Or better yet, pointing to the kid who, by the way, has no idea what's going on and saying, this one has been here before. Mm-hmm. Irene, you've, I don't even know how to say this, but you've kind of been around the block a little more than I have.
Watch yourself.
What do you think about?
Or as they say, I will slap you into tomorrow.
With the old saying, you're going to catch these hands. You remember that? You're going to catch these hands. What do you think about these colloquialisms that are not only cultural, but they're also fun?
Oh, they're a lot of fun. And it's the way we speak in the company of each other. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, it's Black vernacular. Some have derisively called it Black English or Ebonics. But, you know, when I talk about Black vernacular, it is a gumbo of proverbs, colloquialism, idioms, you know, aphorisms, slang, pig language, and of course, code switching. You know, some of the words and phrases have hidden meanings like we certainly have seen in our Negro spiritual. Black speech is a result of the musical genre. It is a jazz. You know, Toni Morrison said we are jazz people. And what I take from that is that when we talk about Black speech, it is a complex sort of harmony of voices, syncopated rhythms in the way in which the way in which a cadence of a word will be distinctively Black, or the heavy emphasis on improvisation. And you know, being part of Black speech is that whole tradition of call and response. We are highly interactive. I mean, so, and it really comes out of a sort of a combination of an infusion, you know, of the transatlantic slave trade, coming together from all parts of Africa. That's why I say we're like a gumbo when we talk about speech. And it derives from the fact that when you took away not only our particular speech from where we come from, but that talking drum, we found another way out of no way to, you know, to speak to each other, to connect to each other, and in ways that it's just talks about the imagination. And you know, Emmett, let's be truthful that when we're not monotone, I mean, some of our speech has attitude. It has a particular inflection, our diction, phraseology. We will sometimes just the way we will give a look or gesticulate conveys everything, better than the spoken word. Like, if listen, let me give you something that talks about how Black speech has a kind of heft to it and meaning. I could say, well, I'm not going with you to the store, Emmett. Or I could just say, I ain't going with you. Ike. Okay, Ike. But listen, one of my favorite one, and you mostly hear this coming from sisters. Okay, this is an aphorism. Black don't crack and brown don't frown. So you can be as old as Miss Jane Pittman or, Cicely Tyson, who played Miss Jane Pittman and died at 98 and not see nary a wrinkle. But I got, and this is another one. I love this one. Every shut eye ain't sleep. Come on, work with me. And every goodbye ain't gone.
And gone. That's right. That's right. There's so many of these. And what's beautiful, I love the fact that you took it diasporically, because even if we locate them in the United States of America, there are regional things that we find,
generational,
and generational, right? So in New York, you all would, call each other son,
That's right. That's right.
You heard what I'm saying? Son. Or, that's my boo, you go down south, you hear somebody call them shorty. Hey, shorty.
That's right.
And, you go out west. And so the beautiful thing about that, our opening clip, the audio came from Robin Harris's Baby Kids, which was an animated film in 1992 done by the Hutland brothers. Now, of course, Robin Harris, a great comedian who was just launching his career, passed away in 1990. But this clip shows the embodiment of how we speak to each other. So oftentimes when we think about vernacular and think about speech, we're thinking about the spoken word. But as you kind of suggested, that it's also about the embodiment of how we actually physically, kind of lean into what we're saying. Into it.
I mean, and then in some things here, people wouldn't get, like, when you're sort of criticizing someone for a fault that person also possessed, you say, look, the pot calling the tea kettle black. Okay. And we so get it. Or, when someone says something that is a truism, we will say, you ain't never lied. Okay. So the emphasis is on that, but this is something and people, a lot of white people don't get this one. Okay. They really don't. But, your mama, made a good pot of gumbo, and you say she done put her foot all up in it. All up in the stuff. Okay. So it's those kind of things. Or then, so interesting because things change over time. I have to say, in your generation came up the word like, my bad, a phrase to, to offer apology or wrongdoing, or they say something like, we straight. Now, this has nothing to do about sexual orientation because I ain't straight. Okay. I ain't straight. Okay. But it's a way of saying we straight, meaning, are we okay? And then when we talk about economic hardship we have, I've heard this so much, and this might be generational from my generation, but I heard this all the time, just trying to make $1 out of 15
cents.
Okay. Yep. Absolutely.
And the response to that is, you ain't never lied.
You ain't never lied. There you go.
You done said it, right?
Okay.
You done said it.
Okay.
And in addition to saying you straight, the other one is, we good?
That's right. We good? That's right. That's right. And then this one speaks about because I hear a lot of black males say this, Emmett, more than I hear sisters. I think it reminds me of Ralph Ellison, The Invisible Man, and it really and it's generational because it certainly wasn't of my generation and stuff. I love it when, you say to a brother, good to see you. And his response is, good to be seen. That speaks volumes. Volumes. Oh my God. But here's one of my favorite. When I say this all the time. Okay. A day late. Come on, work with me.
And a dollar short.
Okay. Meaning that you look, and I'm not just talking about your tardiness, lack of punctuality. I'm also talking about having missed an opportunity. Okay. You so behind, the 8th ball that you just need to give it up. But then, I like stuff like, this is one of ours, of my generation here. And I think you hear this a lot in your generation, but this has always been passed down to me. Don't let your past
Yeah.
define your future.
Your future.
That
Yeah.
was always an inspiration for me here. But then your generation say stuff like, we family. But I think,
Hmm.
but maybe that has always been a kind of a term. I'm not sure. But this comes out of queer culture and recent queer culture in the last 2 decades. Okay, you better slay. Okay, but and Beyonce really popularized that term.
Hmm.
But you better slay, meaning that you're fierce. You better perform. You better just bring it together. And it's also a congratulatory term too. But another term that's been around forever. We don't say bourgeoisie. What we saying it?
Bougie.
Bougie. Okay.
You
All right.
and you're not part of the bougie. You is bougie.
You is bougie, right?
You bougie, right?
Because you could be ghetto bougie. Okay. Okay.
And we don't shop at Target.
No.
Where do we shop?
Target.
Come on now. I mean, so there's all these kind of things, and when we say, hey, family,
That's
right,
right.
that mean that you part of this kind of universal diaspora, right? And when you talk about kinfolk, we always say, how do you say, not all your skin folk are your kinfolk.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but here's another one. This comes from Howard Thurman, a African American Harlem Renaissance writer. Come on now. The blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. Okay. And I used one last week or when we were talking about passing. Okay. And I said that when you talk about Black people, we talk about it in terms of colorism. Light, bright, damn near white. Okay.
Here you go.
wait. Hey, man, I got one that's more, but we used to say back in my day, we used to say booty to talk about someone's butt. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Someone, like Irene got a huge booty. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But now our girl Beyonce, okay, upgraded it. Okay. And gave us the term bootylicious. And what's so radical about that is because it is affirming Black women's bodies. Yeah. And at the time that I grew up and you said booty or Irene has a booty, it was derisive and derogatory. But girlfriend came on stage in public.
She flipped it.
She shook it, and she shakes it. I mean, it's just unbelievable.
And that's the whole point of the coded language about flipping it, right? Yeah. And creating an opportunity for us to be proud of our own cultural heritage, proud of who we are, proud of who we are becoming, and also to pass it down generationally. So I remember my grandfather and his generation would have their own sayings. And when we as young kids heard that, they would talk to each other. Hey, man, remember that cat who, such and such? And oh, man, I can't believe that, such and such did that. Oh, man, he was bugging out,
Yeah.
And every generation has their own sayings.
Right. And with that, see, when I talk about the cadence and musicality and phrasing and stuff and the whole embodiment of it here, it's like the terms will change because every generation comes up with their own kind of phraseology, and idioms that really reflect their day. Like, a brother saying, I say, good to see you. And he'll say, good to be seen. So it'll always reflect the current time. But what comes with that is a kind of, you don't say, hey, brother, good to see you. And he said, well, good to be seen. It comes with a kind of volume and heft and a kind of gesture. And a kind of, because if you ever like whenever I say this to a brother, it's almost like, yo, right on. I'm glad to be seen.
My response is glad to be seen and better seen than viewed. All right.
And look, you always, you're right. Go ahead. You go ahead. Okay. But you always say this to me, let me holler at you in a few minutes, when I want to talk to you right after our show or something, you say, let me holler at you. And so, that's one of your phrases that I just absolutely love. But you know what that means? That don't mean right away. That mean Emmett time. Okay. Okay. So let's talk about time. Okay. Look. Okay. Let's talk about time. Okay. We got colored people time. We got Emmett time. We got Black church people time. Okay. It's just, look, we got BET time. Show says it's going to be at 8:00. We lucky show comes on at 8:30. Okay.
Look, I'm going to have to take this moment to cut your time right now because it's time for a break. So as we go to a break, this is the All Rev'd Up podcast. We'll catch you on the flip side.
What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about? What you talking about, Willis?
This is the All Rev'd Up podcast. We're back. Irene, what you talking about? That was Gary Coleman, who played the character Arnold in the hit sitcom Different Strokes, which ran from 1978 to 1986. And you talk about a popular colloquialism or saying, what you talking about?
That's right. That's right. What you talking about? Another one, and a lot of these colloquialisms become mainstream, like 411. What's the 411? Or when you're talking about something going on continuously, 24/7. I remember Martin Lawrence in his show. He would say, "What's up?" And then all of a sudden you had everybody saying, "What's up?" So again, a lot of that comes out of the way in which we see the world, how we define the world. It has so much to do with your social location, and so it's so interesting because, when they talk about standard English, they speak as if we don't know it, and that we don't have the capacity to articulate it. Now we code switch all the time. But there's something about the way in which we are very intentional in the way we talk as a connectedness. And language is so much about community and the way we connect. I mean, so like, for instance, can I give you one here? Okay. And a lot of them, this is like an aphorism here, tell the truth and shame the devil, that's certainly one of them. Or I used to remember this one. I had a girlfriend who would say, when she was, not criticizing, but, when her child would come in and just come with this fantastic lie, about why he was late. And she would just say, "Do I look like Boo Boo the Fool?" Do you remember that one? Okay.
Do I look stuck on stupid?
Okay,
remember that one?
Oh my God. Okay, that's one I say a lot. That's right. Say the child is just stuck on stupid. Okay, absolutely here. But here's an aphorism that I know it's going to hurt. Okay, but it's true. Oh, and you hear Black women say it. Okay, not Black men. That Black mothers raise their daughters and love their sons. Okay. And that talks about the way in which patriarchal gender roles and expectations are passed on. And so that it's not just sometimes just through the father, but it's through the Black church, the Black church mothers, and Black mothers at home. The double standard. You hear Black women say, my brother can drive all the way to Peru as long as he put gas in the car. Okay. But I got to come home at 10:00. So that's an aphorism. Or another
What's interesting is I don't mean to cut you off. Actually, no. I do mean to cut you off. But one of the interesting things is that one that you just said that Black mothers, raise their daughters and love their sons. Marva Collins was famed for saying that, great educator from the Midwest.
That's right.
And you think about Wendy Williams, the great entertainer who gave us, how you doing, right? How you doing, right? And so you think about individuals whose personalities have extended so much that they give us these sayings. They almost feed these sayings into the community for the taking, and the community takes them. So it's just really interesting as I think about some of these things. I think about the first time I've heard them. I think about when I've heard them. And then I've also think about when they were introduced to, quote unquote, the community.
That's right.
But my favorite one, Irene, is one that you gotta know it in order to understand it, because it doesn't really verbally make sense. It's when you look at a little kid who's about to get into some mischief and go, right? You didn't really say anything.
That's right.
But those utterances, that kid freezes, right? I mean, the kid knows that it's about to get in trouble.
Okay, and wait. And then what it's followed with, you better go somewhere with that. Okay. And really, you better go somewhere with that. Okay. So absolutely, it is an utterance. Some of it is just a look, which,
Oh,
unfortunately, our audience can't see, but you could just give a look and to like, oh, I better back up here. Okay.
I tell you this, my mother had, we call it now the side eye.
Oh my
Me
God.
and my siblings, and usually me and my cousins, we would be cutting up over there, and we would look all the way across the yard. My mother could be sitting on the front porch, and we were down the street in somebody else's yard, and we could look over there, and we see her head turn sideways. We knew that somebody was in trouble. And the other one is this, and God rest her soul, my grandmother, my father's mother, who we call Mama. We'd be sitting in church, and we kids, we would be looking over. Now, first of all, here's one. Anybody know anything about church candy?
Oh yeah.
Right. Church candy.
Yeah.
Right. So, but my grandmother would be sitting, particularly on days when she was not ushering, because that was a whole big thing in the black church back in the day. But she would be sitting, and her head would be nodded, and her eyes would be closed, and we would be taking bets on if she sleep or not. And we would just, start cutting up, and one of the kids would start laughing, and she just turned over to the side and said, "What you laughing at?" And Mama, such and such said you was asleep. I ain't sleep.
But wait, but then her spouse would come back and say, "What's your grandmother's name?"
Mama, Laura.
Laura say, "Laura, honey, tell the truth and shame the devil." Okay, you up here in the Lord's house. That would be the retort.
Oh, this is beautiful. These things, and they're continuing on, though. I mean, this is the beautiful thing, that generation by generation passes these things on, and that they become kind of memorable treasures. Like, I don't know too many people now who have plastic on their furniture in the living room. But, back in the day, you put plastic, and that was the room that you wouldn't let nobody sit in.
That's right. The good furniture.
That was the good furniture,
That's
right?
The good furniture. Yeah.
And they would wipe that plastic down every week.
That's right.
They would wipe it down.
Right.
Ain't nobody sat in it.
Right. And then those few moments, they allow you to sit on it. And God forbid.
Oh, you get stuck.
Okay, yeah, it sticks to you. And look, you just about pull your skin off. Okay? But wait, God forbid now, if you drop something on it, right?
Oh.
All right.
Ooh.
And like, so for instance, say you're the husband of the house, you drop something on the plastic, and then the child does it. The mother will say something like, the fruit don't fall too far from the tree. So, I mean, it could be a compliment as well as an insult.
Mm-hmm. But I think, the bottom line here is the brilliance of the black intellect. For a population of people who have been historically told that we were illiterate, that we had no kind of sense, that we were not smart, that we were, linguistically insufficient, that we were not, robust in our lingua franca. Can I do it that way? Right. Here we are with some of the most, profound and provocative codes that we all get.
That's right.
Even if you've heard it for the first time, you understand from whence it comes and what is being alluded to.
Yeah. And what bothers me when you talk about, sort of like linguistically challenged here. So whites make a lot of issue about the fact that we don't say ask. Okay. We don't say ask. Okay. And as if we can't pronounce it, ignoring the musicality of the sentence, the syntax of the sentence, that it requires that shortening of the word in order to get the full. It's just not that one word. We're not monotone or monosyllabic. Okay. It has a fluidity to it. Okay. So we say ack or ah. We don't. So what we know in code switching, we must say ask, because my God, should you say the way we say to each other, automatically they will revoke your degree and your doctorate.
Listen, don't even start there.
That right. And so they missed the point. Like even with they didn't understand the Negro spirituals. We said, go down Moses. Okay. Someone starts singing, says she's coming through, means go to the river now. Or when they say, let's follow the drinking gorge. Okay, we're talking about what? The Milky
The
Way.
North Star.
That's
yeah,
right. The Milky
going
Way.
that way. Yeah,
okay, because it's always what? Pointing north.
North,
So the
that's
point
right.
about it is that I'm just glad we gave you our audience an opportunity who don't know of how our Black way of expressing ourselves to each other has historical roots. Started there.
Let me see, Irene, because you get the final word of the final episode of season 4. I want to see how you going to flip this. I want to see how you going to get jiggy with this.
All right.
I want to see how you going to bless us.
There you
I
go.
want to see how you going to lay it down for us. I want to see how you going to drop it from your dome. I want to see how
Drop it
you
like
going to
it's
come with it, right?
Okay.
I want to bring
Listen
it.
here.
Bring
Okay.
it.
Well, listen, it has been an honor to have your ears and attention for season 4. A tsunami of things would neither aptly nor amply convey our heartfelt gratitude. In this last episode, we wanted to share a little of who we are, and we chose the topic of the way we speak in the company of each other to just give you a glance. Why? Because there is something notably in the way we see the world, how we learn from it, and how we language it. Because of the transatlantic slave trade, we can tell more about each other than a volume of literature can unfold. The old folks say it's because we are Black. It is something that cannot be ignored and will not be denied. It is something created within our soul long before we felt soulful. The way we speak in the company of each other creates a deeper understanding and a stronger bond among us across class, education, and social economics. The way we speak in the company of each other is like love between Black people and love for ourselves. It helps us to continue on, not in spite of our challenges, but rather because of it. Our way of speaking is rooted in an energy derived from a Black ancestral tradition, spiritually and sacred wisdom. Our way of speaking creates a counter voice, a text and knowledge that becomes a tool that not only gives us voice, but also gives us power. And our way of speaking in the company of each other is the fire in our spirit, the cadence in our words, the weight in our blues. This allows us to not only get down, but to get up, to get through, and to get over. We share this intimacy with you because you have listened and tuned in to us. And we say, thank you. Ashe.
Ashe.
And amen.
Amen. You dropped it.
I don't know.
You dropped it. All Rev'd Up is brought to you by us, the Revs. Our amazing producers are Kyla Wright and Cavante Smalls.
Music for this episode is from Reverend Price's son and musical prodigy, Emmett G. Price IV. All Rev'd Up is distributed by GBH.
Additional thanks to Bob Kempf, Elizabeth O'Brien, May He, Devin Robbins, Meredith Neerman, and Zach Waldman.
If you like what you hear, let us know. Give us a review on Apple Podcasts and follow us at All Rev'd Up Pod on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
Feel free to send us a note, a question, or a comment to allrevduppod@gmail.com. We'll be back